So we're going to keep that going with Chelsea May. Chelsea is a freshman majoring in English education. Her hobbies include running, thrifting, and hanging out with friends and family. She is a first-generation college student who loves to learn from and about others. Tonight, Chelsea will help us reframe what we think of people who've been in the foster care system. Welcome to the stage, Chelsea!
Hi. Like they said, I'm Chelsea. Let's get into it. According to NFYI.org, more than 23,000 children will age out of the foster care system, and less than 3% of those children who aged out will have earned a college degree at some point in their lifetime. From the start, statistics were not on my side, but here I am standing in front of you as a college student. I know the statistic about foster kids and college degrees, and it motivates me. Me finishing college is not just about my future, it is also about helping motivate others to achieve their goals too. But for you to care about what I have to say, I think you have to get to know me a little bit first. I grew up with a big family of siblings. I have one sister and 5 brothers. With having all younger brothers, I knew that whatever I decided to do with my life had to be almost perfect, so I could inspire them. But perfect is exactly the route my life decided not to take. One of my brothers passed away, and that changed everything for me. I knew that as an older sister, I had to be there for my siblings for almost everything, supporting them and being strong for them as well. Honestly, my brother who passed is one of my biggest motivations today. I live, love, and I do things that he couldn't do because his time was cut short. He gives me the strength today to be up here, sharing my story with you. After his passing, I looked around at my life my parents were building for me, and I realized what we were going to grow up to be. I lived in an abusive environment where my parents were physically and mentally abusing one another, along with me and my siblings. This abuse created an eternal wound that I can never fully heal. As I lived through those hard days in an abusive home, school and anything very far in the future weren't really my biggest priority. Instead, seeing the next day was my focus. My older sister and I were so busy taking care of my younger brothers to the best of our abilities, doing everything we could. Suddenly, when I was 7 years old, my world and everything I knew changed with one car ride with CPS, or Child Protective Services. Just like that, my lifestyle changed drastically. Nothing would ever be the same again for me. My siblings and I were put in foster care, and with this, we were all split up. So no more focus on avoiding abuse, surviving another day, or even being a big sister. This was the beginning of figuring out what my life would look like in the future. I knew that I wanted to build a better future, one that my younger brothers would be proud of, along with my sister. Not being able to see them meant I had to do a lot of this on my own and in the dark. I had to build my own courage without them for pretty much my whole life after being taken. Being in foster care, I heard a lot of statistics, and let me tell you, they're not encouraging at all. Statistics say that most foster kids don't graduate high school, let alone go to college. Most foster kids who age out get addicted to drugs and are pregnant before the age of 21. But I knew in my whole body that that's the route I never wanted to take for myself. By the age of 11, I was adopted into a home. And this family was amazing in the beginning. I loved every second of being not a foster kid anymore. They taught me a lot of life skills that I knew I would need in my future. Sadly, this being not a foster kid lasted me about 6 years. They had no idea how to handle a child with the trauma that I had endured in the past. I was moved out, kicked out at the age of 16, and put back into a system alone and scared for the future that I've been trying to build mentally and physically. With getting kicked out, I wasn't allowed to see my brothers because they didn't know the circumstances as to why I've been kicked out. I had to prove myself to be able to see 2 of my brothers that I haven't seen in about 3 or 4 years now. This left and is continuing to leave a tear in my heart. Like I said, I do everything for the only family that I have. Sadly, my brothers have no idea of the work I've been putting into seeing them. This is one of the hardest things that I'm continuing to work on. I'm still continuing to fight and stay motivated for them. After I was kicked out, I was homeless at that time, and while being the age of 16 didn't really help my case in seeing my brothers. Another statistic for you. 20% of foster kids aged out of the system become homeless. I hated that. Right there was when I became a statistic. At this point, my vision of going to college, seeing my family once again, and everything I wanted for my future was once diminishing. How is a teenager going to fight all these things going against them, let alone a teenager like me? All odds were against me, and life was literally fighting back at me. Throughout the years of being pretty much homeless, I've heard a lot of, Chelsea, you can't make it on your own. There's no way you're going to have a future where college is in it. All this, and you're just going to end up like your biological parents anyways. These words broke me down and tore me down like no other. I learned that I can use these words as a crutch, or I can use them as motivation to prove myself. I can reframe those ideas and prove myself to everyone who doubted me. After all my experiences, I had a very hard time trusting adults. Because of this, I did everything in my power to do it alone. I decided that going back into the foster care system at the age of 17 was going to be my best bet at the future I was building in my mind. And hopefully this would help with my sibling situation I was put in. I was put into my last foster home at the start of my senior year of high school. I was juggling turning 18 and the reality that I didn't really get to have a childhood, and that all the trauma I experienced in the past really did hurt me. But what hurt me the most is knowing that my brothers are growing older without a sister. Because of this, I knew that I had to keep it together for my siblings and for the future that I wanted so badly. In this foster home, I heard again the same messages that I've been hearing throughout my whole life. Don't use your trauma as a crutch, Chelsea. Maybe a university is too much for you. You couldn't handle that. Your brothers don't want to see you, Chelsea. You're not even trying for them. By reframing these into motivation, I was put in a position to prove myself. Those words hurt, though, and at times I felt like I was 7 years old again, looking at myself and doubting and saying, maybe everyone is right. I'm just a foster kid. There's no way that I can go to college alone while battling the system to see my brothers again. Using those messages as motivation, I managed to graduate high school, get my own things, and go to college. I'm doing things today that people in the past told me I never could do. I use their words as my motivation instead of letting them break me. Beating all the odds is not an easy thing to do. It's really hard. But that's what I've done all my life, and that gave me hope for the future. I decided to use these painful words to my advantage. I mean, this is the only thing I really could do, and sometimes felt like the only option if I wanted to achieve the future that I dreamed of all my life. Reframing those hurtful words into motivation is what saved me and keeps me going on the path to graduate college. All these roads and roadblocks throughout my lifetime, throughout my childhood, going into my college years, prepared my future in ways I never thought were possible. I am strong and I am resilient. After hearing my story, I challenge you to reframe what you may think of someone in foster care and choose to encourage them instead of sending messages that may hurt them. The words you speak to young people are powerful and can change their worlds completely, so use your words carefully. I hope you can take away these 3 things. Turn negative insights into your own type of motivation. Know that others' actions may stop you physically, but nothing can stop you mentally. And as my favorite fish likes to say, just keep swimming. Thank you.